Agriculture is one of the most dangerous industries in the country. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says it's also one of the few sectors where fatal and non-fatal injuries extend to family members. The University of Nebraska Medical Center's College of Public Health focuses on several agricultural areas, including grain handling and tractor safety. Earlier this week, we talked with the UNMC's Chandran Achutan about hearing loss as well as dangers from dust and pesticide. We started by asking how severe hearing loss is for agricultural workers.
Hearing loss is pretty widespread. I think it's estimated that about 60 to 70% of farmers have some form of hearing loss in one or both ears.
Where are the sources? Where's the exposure level coming from?
The sources would include any heavy machinery in the farm. That can include augers, grain racks, even livestock, even swine confinements are very, very loud places.
So what is a level of concern, right? If you're out on the farm, how long can you be around stuff like this before it's not a problem, before it is a problem?
Yeah, typically we say 85 decibels of noise over an 8-hour period is going to be a problem. But then the more noise exposure you're exposed to, the less of the time you should be in that environment.
What's 85 decibels? Give me an example of something that would be.
85 decibels can be like if you have like a jackhammer going or a lawnmower going at full speed. That can be like close to 85 or more than 85 decibels.
So what protective measures can farmers take?
The best protective measure for a farmer would be to just not be in a loud environment if possible. If you can keep away from a loud place, that's great. Otherwise, if you're going to be in a cab, make sure that your cab has a window, make sure those windows are closed. Or you can also use personal protective equipment like earplugs and earmuffs. You just have to be careful when you use earmuffs to clean them, because you don't want to put on a dirty pair of earmuffs and then have contaminants go into your ear and cause infections.
Tell me about the work you've done with farmers to try to find sources of problems and fix them.
In the current study that I'm doing, we are looking to get farmers to wear hearing protection on a regular basis. And so one of the barriers to that is farmers say, the hearing protection is not available when I need them and I can't bother to go back to my house to pick them up. So what we did is we put earplugs and earmuffs all around the farm where there was loud noise exposure, so that the farmers, when they wanted it, it was right there. And it's been proven to really help them use the hearing protection when they need it.
And they did use it?
And they have used it, and we have data to show that they like the idea, they've used it a lot.
Let's talk about dust and pesticides. First, dust. From where can dust be a problem?
Dust can happen from everywhere. From when you do harvesting, you can have any small particles that are floating in the air and you breathe it in, it can cause a problem. With dust particles, the smaller the particle, the smaller the size, the more dangerous it is, because they can enter deep into your lungs and cause problems.
Where do those small ones come from?
The small ones come from just mechanical action. So for example, when a farmer is harvesting and kicks up dust, and that can be broken down into smaller particles, and then that can be this is where the main sources are.
What kind of problems?
You can have a lot of hypersensitivity pneumonitis. You can have organic dust toxic syndrome, which is similar to influenza. So you can have a lot of respiratory type diseases from dust.
So masks?
Masks, respirators, these are all good ways to protect one from getting dust exposure. Of course, the best way to prevent from getting dust exposures is to keep away from that environment if possible. And I know that's not always possible, so then you can use masks or respirators.
How dangerous are pesticides?
Pesticides are very dangerous chemicals. They really have a lot of active ingredients that can cause a lot of harm. And that harm can include vomiting and nausea all the way to death. A lot of farmers who are exposed to, if you're not careful, you're exposed to organophosphate pesticides, they can cause a lot of neurological damage.
So how effective can gloves, long sleeves, protective equipment be?
They are very effective, and I think every time you use pesticides, you'll be advised to wear long sleeve garments and pesticide and gloves and goggles.